Hello, 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 beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. Let's talk today about co-creation. Some people would call it manifestation, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to call it co-creation. I do believe there is a difference. And if you would like to know what that difference is, you're going to have to check out the video that I made previously. Make sure you watch that one first and then come back to this so you can understand exactly what I'm saying here. But how do we co-create? Why do we co-create? And what blocks our co-creation is the topic of the conversation today. If you saw the title, you know I've already given it away. Trauma blocks co-creation. I do want to focus a little bit on why we are meant to co-create, why we are called to co-create, and then I will get into how the unhealed wounds block that co-creation ability. So let's start with the why, because I think it's really important to address this. Having grown up in a Christian home with a pastor for a father, and then gone down the metaphysical path, coming back around to my creator, recognizing that organized religion was not necessarily aligned to the truth of what God wants us to understand about how to see ourselves and how to receive the provision and the love and the safety and the joy and the peace and all of the beautiful things that our creator wants us to experience. Now, I won't throw all of the organized religion out. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are some amazing churches out there. I go to a couple of them. I very much respect some of the teachers, and yet we are all human. That sometimes our unhealed wounds can get in the way. And for the sake of this conversation, I never want to demonize all of anything. Right? No culture is purely bad. No ethnicity is purely bad. No organized religious sect is purely bad. There are good people, and there are people who are wounded and choose to resort to unresourceful means. We'll put it that way. So nothing is ever always. Let's remember that. Point being, there are groups of people or individuals, however you want to say it, who are concerned with the prosperity gospel teachings. And to some extent, rightfully so, the manifestation teachings. Just a brief recap, that video that I discussed, the differences between manifestation and co-creation is at the core, the message is ego, right? Ego, unhealed trauma, trying to create something from a place of fear or lack, and allowing that to distract us from our creator, versus co-creation, which is creating within the guidelines or the will of our creator. And it's really interesting because I tend to dance between terms where I will say source, I will say creator, I will say God, I will say, I don't often say universe because I kind of feel like the universe is the game that we are playing within, which was created by source. But don't let semantics get in the way. Understand that in the humblest state I could possibly say this, I posture myself in complete surrender to my creator. And this is information that I received that I can't take credit for. And so I do trust that in my efforts to be fully surrendered to the intimacy with the creator that I am called to, that I'm delivering this message from a place of humility and guidance, and not just something that I want to believe. And I tend to be really careful about that. So why are we called to co-create? Why are we called to manifest, if you will? And how do we rectify the messages that we received through organized religion, or that I received from my father, if you will, who was in a very wounded place? I guess I'll start with a personal story, just to really speak to some sort of that religious trauma and the messages that really distorted the belief system that is necessary to be able to create and receive. And this inadvertently, this story will address sort of the concerns around prosperity gospel. So my father was, I come to later understand, driven by a lot of fear, driven by a lot of ego. And while he may have at one time had a good intention, likely we all do, so I know he did. But as we know, these unhealed wounds and these belief systems and the need for superiority and being seen as an authority tend to get in the way. And that was very much true in my childhood. I would say my father was very much on the extreme. So not all organized religion is like this, but there were heavy, heavy messages, and I won't even say undertones. It was very overt instruction or teaching or suggestion or just pure projection that we are bad, wrong, broken, sinners, shameful, that we should posture ourselves in almost flatulate ourselves to prove how unworthy we were. And that I do not agree with. I do not get behind that, especially after getting a master's degree in neuroscience and trauma. If we look to our bodies, our physical vessel, which we know is beautifully and wonderfully made, the nervous system and the brain and all of our reproductive organs, or what I really meant was the reproductive systems of the cells that are meant to die and regenerate, are inhibited by living in that perpetual state of not enoughness. Right? I'm not enough. The world is not enough. People are not enough. I'm broken. I'm sinful. I'm shamed. I'm a shameful person. Those are all destructive to the body. They activate the sympathetic nervous system state, which is the opposite of rest and digest, healing, growth, and repair. And so that is evidence that God did not design us to live in that state. And that points to unhealed trauma. I was blessed to get the master's in neuroscience and trauma through a Christian organization, and so there's a lot of connection between Scripture and the understanding of the body, the understanding of trauma, and how there are unfortunate ways that the church perpetuates more wounding and unhealed trauma, or preventing trauma from being healed through these instructions. So we're going to put that to the side. Just know that while I may point to Scripture, I see that the biblical text is one of many valuable ancient texts, wisdom books, although we're not going to get into the discussion of if one is better than the other. I think they're all trying to say the same thing relative to the context of that culture, that time, that space, that individual receiving the information. So let's not debate that. Please, again, don't let that get in the way. All right, so let's get into it. Why CoCreate? This is not, and connecting it to prosperity gospel. I believe, because I have not dug into this world, but I believe the concern is that we don't want to treat God like a genie. And I would agree with that, because intimacy with our Creator and really being tapped in and cultivating that connection on a moment-to-moment basis is the most important thing, is the highest state of being, and is the thing that you're actually seeking. While you might think that a nice house or a fancy car or material possessions are going to make you feel better, it's distracting, and it pulls us away from intimacy with our Creator, and it is not the end that you seek. It is not the result that you seek. It is intimacy with your Creator. And as it said, if we seek the kingdom of heaven within, then all things will be added unto you. And yes, I'm combining two scriptures there, but you can see how they come together. So point being that prosperity gospel is not all bad. But I do also sense that some of the concern with prosperity gospel is that we don't shame people enough, or we don't bring in the hard lessons, or we don't hit people over the head with the book. And I don't believe that shame is necessary. Yes, we have to humble ourselves. Yes, we do have to let go of the ego. We do have to let go of things that drive us through distraction from God. And so we'll leave that there. There are hundreds of verses in the Bible that teach us that we are promised provision, promised overflow, promised that we will be dressed more beautifully than the lilies of the valley, or King Solomon. There's so many verses that suggest that coming to God will be rewarded. We don't do it for the rewards, but to reject the reward is counter to what we are called to do. So finally getting into why do we co-create, and then I promise you I will get to how does trauma block manifestation / co-creation. Right? So from the beginning, God made humans to represent himself on earth, to mirror his creative nature, govern with love, and fill the earth with his glory. Co-creation is hardwired into our design. We were made in the image and likeness of the creator of the universe. That is a powerful suggestion that we are made to be creators. And I believe there is a verse, let me pull it up here, that suggests that God made us for that exact purpose. Where did that go? My apologies. Give me a second here. So in Genesis 1:26 through 28, it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion." So clearly that is a suggestion to create. To be fruitful is not just to be fruitful in material possessions or to be fruitful from a reproductive standpoint, but to be fruitful in all that we create. We are made to subdue the earth. And if we look at the way the world is operating today, we are very much operating out of a lack mentality. We are very much living in our sympathetic state, which is a state of fear. And there's really only two types of thoughts, that are love and fear. And so we want to choose to recognize that we are no longer called, we are no longer being allowed to live in that state of fear. We are being called to live in a state of love, a state of co-creation, so that we can bring under control the issues that we are seeing in the world today. God is not looking for spectators. He's building a kingdom of co-creators who walk in faith, speak with authority, and release heaven on earth. You are not just saved to be safe. You are saved to be fruitful, to multiply, and to govern. To take back our power and authority over the darkness. This is why Christ came to teach us that we must command, believe, and receive not only our needs, because we have to have our needs met, but also to call under authority the darkness that is proliferating right now. And so when we reject our co-creative abilities, when we say, no, I should be poor in this lifetime so that I can get to heaven in the next lifetime, or if we choose to believe that wealth and overflow and abundance and provision is somehow unspiritual, we are foregoing not only our birthright and our inheritance of the riches and glory according to the creator of the universe, but also our ability to take back our power and authority over the earth. And of course, one of my favorite verses is Mark 11:23 and 24, I believe, that if you speak to the mountain, tell it to jump into the sea, and have no doubt in your heart, it will be done for you. And this really speaks to how we no longer have to carry that burden of believing it's all up to me, I'm all on my own. Somehow I have to make the wealth happen. Somehow I have to make the business successful. Somehow I have to support my family completely alone. Somehow I have to climb that corporate ladder or fight against the way of the world today to somehow be able to make a difference. We are told that we are made for a purpose with intention, and God's purpose and intention for our lives is to reflect his glory, to mature into sonship so that we can commune with the Creator. And part of that maturing process is learning that we no longer have to believe the lies of the world today that tell us you have to work hard, you have to grind, you have to put in 48 hours a week, you have to work for 60, 70 years of your life and hope that someday you'll be able to rest and be at peace. We're also told to be still and know that he is God, that verse, what was it, Mark 11:23 and 24 is telling us, done for you. That we speak to the mountain, we tell it what to do, and then we have no doubt in our heart so that it is done for us. Now, if I'm coming from a place of lack, if I'm coming from a place of jealousy, if I'm coming from a place of belief that I can't have this thing, if I'm coming from a place of feeling like I'm not good enough, or even just having to prove from a place of pride that I am good enough, all of that is suggesting a disconnection from your Creator and a disconnection from the clarity of who God made you to be. It is suggesting that you don't feel or don't remember, or frequently disconnect from the understanding that the creator of the universe lives inside of you all the time. Every breath, every heartbeat is evidence. The kingdom of heaven is within. God eternal within the body is written on the codes of your DNA. And I can feel the power in this. We need to take our power back and understand that co-creation is what God made us for, that they cannot touch us. There is nobody coming to save us. You've heard that phrase, that no one's coming to save you. You're the one that has to save yourself. It is the collective. It is the 144,000 coming into the understanding that we are powerful. And when we know it, there is nothing they can do about it. They want to poison our food. Screw it. I bless it. They want to poison my air. I don't care. It's God that makes my lungs breathe. You cannot touch me when I understand my power and authority. And to anyone who is living in an unhealed state, this is where we get into how trauma blocks manifestation or co-creation, that the nervous system, the sympathetic state and the parasympathetic state, the understanding of what is happening in your mind all of the time. If you are feeling jealousy, if you are feeling lack, if you are feeling fear, if you are feeling a need for competition, if you are trying to prove your value and worth, if you are if you're not receiving the life that you desire, there is something living inside of you, likely pointing to unhealed wounds, that is keeping you from the life that your creator created you for. There is not a single desire, so long as it is good, right? So long as it's not coming from unhealed trauma or a need to prove your value and worth or a need to run away from pain. If it is a genuine desire, something like having a child, something like building a purpose-driven business, something like having more than enough to pay your bills, something like growing your business exponentially to reach the next level so that you can pour into others. Those are beautiful desires that God put on your heart. He wants you to have them. He wants to give them to you. But if you worry, if you stress, if you strive, if you are constantly on the go, if you struggle, if you get impatient, if you overthink, all of these things are pointing to a sympathetic nervous system state, an overactive limbic system, an overactive fear center in your brain that is cutting you off from your creator's provision. I have to take a deep breath. Come back to your body, because the body is the key. The body is the key. The body is a discernment tool that tells us, are you aligned or are you misaligned? Are you in lack or are you in overflow? Are you in fear or are you in love? That the body is the mechanism of the signal that you send out to God in the universe that says, I'm ready to receive. Now, if you are in jealousy, if you are in lack, if you are in fear, if you are in struggle, if you are in chaos, if you are in patience, if you are in impatience, all of that is pointing to unhealed wounds. And it's that simple. And the body is the key, because the body keeps the score. The cognitive mind will go round and round and round and round. Overthinking is pointing to unhealed wounds and a dysregulation of the nervous system. The sympathetic state is associated with survival mode, fight or flight, fawn or freeze, overwhelm, shut down, people-pleasing, overgiving, self-sacrifice, self-abandonment, lack, jealousy, fear, all of these things. Those are all sympathetic states. Those are all activations. Those are all a contracted state of your physical vessel that is sending the message to God in the universe, I don't have enough. And because God designed you to be a powerful creator through the state of your being, to pray in Jesus' name is to be in a Christ-like state, which is absolute clarity and certainty that it's already done, it's already promised, it's already mine. Is that contracted? It's the opposite of that. It's the contracted state that says, nope. So if we're creating through that state, okay, I have to slow down because I recognize I'm talking really fast and I'm bringing a lot together. So I will slow down for you. I can feel you. I love you. So I'm hearing you and I will meet your need. All needs need to be met. All needs need to be met. You get to have the desires of your heart. It starts with recognizing, are you in contraction or are you in expansion? Are you in survival mode, sympathetic state, or are you in expansion and belief and certainty, parasympathetic state? So any projection, which is kind of what complex trauma is. Any time you did not feel safe, seen, heard, cared for, or loved as a child, there is a powerful emotion that comes with that experience that then the child turns into a subconscious program. So that experience meant something. It meant something about me. It meant something about other people. It meant something about life. It meant something about whether or not I was good enough, whether or not I would receive, whether or not I would be able to escape or move through this experience. Many times that powerful emotion, that little child, inner child, you could say, the part of you that locked into the meaning making in that moment, decided life is always hard. I never get my needs met. I'm not enough. Pain equals suffering perpetually, that this is not just a state in time. This is my life. That's what we call subconscious programs. The body keeps a score that lives inside of you. So those emotions, those physical sensations in your body, anytime you're triggered, anytime you experience an undesirable experience in your life. And I know there are people who love me who watch these videos, and I know there are people who hate me that watch these videos. And I want you to know I love you all. I don't care what you've done to me. I don't care what hate you send to me. You can't touch me anyways. I still love you. But the point is, if you are here, so the two camps, right? If you're here because you know that there's something and you're trying to find it, this is what we're walking through. Believe that experience that you're going through, the trigger that you feel in your body, the somatic sensations that are associated with a difficult experience are the gateway. Those triggers are the gifts that will show you where you are limited and where you are not free. Start to celebrate them. For those of you who don't like me, I'm sorry you don't like me. That is the way God made me. I am made to be a catalyst and a trigger, and I love you anyways. You are welcome. I'm sorry I triggered you. I don't like hurting you. My arms will always be open. My heart will always be open to you. But both camps need to understand the gift of the trigger and the healing starts with the body. Feel it. Get to know the part that says, hey, this hurts because I believe I can't have that thing. I believe that you are somehow preventing me from feeling what you seem to experience. I'm just a mirror. I'm probably not doing the thing or taking the thing or making you experience the thing you think I am. I'm just reflecting you, right? One of my favorite understandings is that the way a person responds to you has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what is inside of them. So this is how trauma, unhealed wounds block co-creation. Because that sensation, that trigger, that experience, that belief, that part, that meaning making, that subconscious program that all lives inside the body is somehow latched into a contracted state of I can't get there. I can't live in peace. I can't find joy. I can't find ease. I can't escape this job I don't want to be in. I can't have that relationship that I really want. I can't feel good enough. I can't feel pretty enough. I can't feel skinny enough. I can't feel successful enough. I can't, right? Those are the programs. That's the contraction. That's the state of being that cuts you off from what God is. He's literally right here. He's literally right here, no closer than your vagus nerve, saying, please, love, I just need you to believe. I just need you to believe. And I will use a personal example again. This is a tough one. So give me a second. Bear with me because I'm going to go into it's a story I've never told, and I'm just allowing it to come through. I don't really even have clarity on what exactly I'm going to say here, but in the worst of the worst of the worst times of my life, a homeless teenager who left home because my mother had her own wounds and was not capable of stopping physical abuse, emotionally unavailable. No shame to my mother, but just life was hard for everybody. And that was the belief. Life was hard. We can't get away from these things. I ran away. I stayed with friends. I bounced around. I stayed with boyfriends. I was taken advantage of by many men. I had friends who were also wounded and turning to drugs and alcohol to cope. A lot of emotion behind this. I just have to breathe into my body for a second here and hold compassion for that little girl. She was a teenager and she thought she was tough, but she was a little girl. She didn't know how to do life. She believed the pain was forever. That feeling of being trapped in the pain and not being able to escape, not being able to get out, not being able to feel good enough, not being able to find somebody to love me truly, not just take advantage of me. I believed for a vast majority of my life, probably until 27 is when I discovered psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy and started to have an understanding of the beliefs that were preventing this. But you could easily say 30 years out of the 46 that I've existed, I believed life was hard. People were scary. I will always struggle. There's never enough money. Men will always hurt me. Love will always hurt. There's nobody I can count on. It's all up to me. I'm on my own. I think I said it, but for some reason it wants to come through again. People always hurt me, right? Those were my programs. I was a victim to life. And because I had those beliefs, some of them were unconscious. I didn't even see them until I started to wake up to what's happening in here. What's happening in here? Because yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy is very important if you don't have an understanding of what's happening in your mind, but there's another level. What's in your body is even more important, because there were things that I didn't know, because my mother, when I left home, didn't come to find me. I had very subconsciously, and I would almost even say unconsciously, adopted a belief that I was discardable like trash. That I had seen that pattern over and over, my mother, and then men, and then relationships and friendships and bosses, right? I want to censor myself. There's so many things coming through, and it's like, usually I wouldn't tell these stories, but I'm in this with you. I was where you were. I even had a boss who said, if you don't sleep with me, I will fire you. That I was that expendable, like trash. And I thought I was okay. I thought I was doing well, especially, between 27 and 30, before I really discovered the stuff that lived in my body, the trauma, where I was doing the cognitive behavioral therapy. I was doing affirmations and hypnosis and QHHT and prayer and church and meditation and affirmations. Did I say that already? I mean, I literally tried everything out there, and I thought I had it pretty well under control. And then I hit the second dark night of the soul, and I hit the second or third or fourth or whatever number toxic relationship I was in, depending on how you count them. But I didn't realize, when we think we're okay, but we're still struggling to get to where we're trying to go, that's the indication something still lives inside. And you can't solve it cognitively. It's got to be done somatically, because that's where you're going to find the stuff that is so big and so hairy and so scary that even your cognitive mind will not let you see what lives inside of you. So let's bring it all together. Take a deep breath. Come back to your body. Feel what you're feeling in your body, because what you are feeling in your body right now is speaking to you about the resonance or the language or the message of what you're hearing right now. It's trying to show you something. There is a sensation in your body that's saying, hey, this is where you're limited. This is where you're not free. This is your block. This is the thing that's keeping you from what you desire. If you feel jealousy, if you feel that fear of, I can't get there, go to that thing. That is the part of you that's saying, hey, you got a belief that's not going to let you get there. Jealousy, envy, distaste for someone else is just showing you where you have a limiting belief or an unhealed trauma that's keeping you from the very thing that you want. It's showing you, I want this, and I have a belief or a block that's keeping me from it. So come back to your body. Thank God for living in your body. Thank God for the traumas. Thank God for the sharpening that comes through difficult experiences. We do not have to suffer. We no longer live in that place anymore. Put down that belief. Yes, maybe historically that was our truth, but we are not there anymore. I don't know if you noticed, but the world is changing very, very quickly. And so are we. We are going into a space and time where suffering is not required. So put that down. It is not yours. That is not your destiny. Yes, the brain wants to look to the past for how the future will go. It's not true anymore. You are made a powerful, powerful co-creator. God calls you to co-create. Yes, you get to have love, joy, peace, abundance, overflow, provision, fulfillment, purpose, impact, all of those beautiful things that God made you for, that not only will help you become all that you were made to be, which is your purpose. Your purpose is thriving. Your purpose is self-actualization. Having your needs met, having the desires of your heart met that God put there, is going to cause you to elevate into such a beautiful state of being that you automatically, if you have healed your traumas and have done the work, you want to just pour into others. Give every person you walk by a smile and a compliment. You make the world a better place through that ripple effect, just purely by your being amazing and awesome, because you're in joy, because you're loved, because you're in overflow. You get to live a beautiful life, a life worth living, a life you look forward to. You get to be excited to wake up tomorrow and do life, not only with your creator, of course, but with people you love. You get to have fulfillment. You get to have purpose and impact. You get to be at peace because all needs are met. And that comes through co-creation to some extent. I realize it's getting long, so I'm just going to throw in this sort of caveat. When you have built a life on trauma, when you have built a life on unhealed wounds, a life that is either running towards what you think is the solution to your pain or running from the pain itself, your life was built on sand. And as you wake up to the creator, cultivating intimacy with the creator, utilizing the body to connect with the creator and hear and discern and follow the guidance that's going to lead you towards the life that he has for you, to co-create the life that he has for you, there is going to be a crumbling of the old life. And that's okay. It's not awesome. You don't have to suffer. Pain plus resistance equals suffering. If you don't resist the crumble, you'll learn to sort of ride the waves and have faith and trust and say, okay, God, your way is better. I don't know what this looks like. Thank you, Forrest Frank. I love you. But if you are willing to go through the deconstruction phase and step into the co-creation, consider the deconstruction, the pruning, do the work, get in the body, feel the yuck, let it release. If you suppress it, it stays. If you feel it, it leaves. Then you empty and clarify the vessel. Then you become, whoa, open. Here comes amazing things. Nature pours a vacuum. You got to make space. Then you step into powerful co-creation. Then it's not just an undoing of what was built on a faulty foundation. It's not pruning anymore. Then God says, you're ready. You ready? Are you ready? Because you're ready. And then it's like, holy crap, God, does it really get to be this good? And every day it's better and better. It's more and more. It gets to be beyond your wildest dreams. So that trauma, that contracted state, the survival mechanism, the trying to do it all yourself is cutting you off from God's provision. The more you get into the body, utilize the somatic trauma spotting process. I don't even care. Go to a brain spotting practitioner, find someone that does somatic work, not just breath work, not just yoga. Yes, that's somatic, but it's not, you got to do somatic experiencing or somatic trauma spotting. Those are really the only two I would say that are going to get deep into. And feel free to comment below. If you've experienced a somatic healing method that works for you, I want people to have the resources. I am not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. I'm provided for. My source is my source. So that has nothing to do with this. My mission, consider this, as I tell you, my mission, hear yours. You were made perfectly imperfect for a purpose. From your overflow, living a life that you love to live, you are going to step into something beautiful where you get to pour into others and make the world a better place. Something like my purpose, which is just spreading the word, right? Spreading the word, teaching people how to get into the body. By the way, I think I'm going to be opening the somatic trauma spotting training course. That's new, came through yesterday. Thank you, God, for giving me that process and the ability to teach it to others. We are going to equip an army of healers to spread this word, because it is not just about healing trauma. We do not roll around in the mud. We get the shit out of the way. I don't usually swear. Feeling very bold today, so that we can clarify the vessel, so that we can become powerful creators. Because if you're creating from wounding, you're recreating more of the past over and over and over and over, stuck in a trauma loop. But in order to be a powerful creator, you clarify the vessel, get the crap out of your body so that you can receive not only the provision, but the guidance, create intimacy with the divine, be the clear channel, be the discernment tool, be the vessel, be the tuning fork that God says, okay, now let's go. Now let's go change the world. Not through trying to muscle our way through it, or not pressing against systems that are not working. No, beautiful soft power, belief, certainty, provision, overflow. That is your destiny. You get to have all that God put on your heart that is pure and beautiful and right and just. And that feels complete. I love you so much, my friends. Please do reach out if you have questions. I am here for you. I am putting on a free training / transmission. We're going to just let God lead and see what comes through on 8/8. So let's activate your highest potential, your highest timeline, your powerful co-creative abilities, so that we can make the world a beautiful place, create heaven on earth. And by default, we just flush those bad guys down the drain. Okay. I love you. I truly love you. Your purpose is my purpose. I love you no matter who you are. So I hope in this moment you can feel my heart going to yours. And likely, if you don't like me, you're not even here by now. It's too long anyways. But I love you either way. And I will see you on the next one. Oh, if you want to continue the conversation today, make sure you check out this most recent video I created. It all kind of works in succession, so make sure you follow the thread. I love you again. I'll see you when I see you. Namaste.